Halacha Bara, we're up to Halacha Yomi, we're up to Melacha number 10. Melacha of Lash, kneading. So the Melacha of Lash is the act of combining many small parts by adding a liquid to create a dough. So creating a dough is asur on Shabbat. Okay, when they make dough in the Mishkan, they make dough to make the lechem panim, or they in order to make to combine the ground plants with water to make a dye, to make a color. Okay, fine, said. So now once a person makes a grogeret of flour, takes a grogeret of flour and mixes it with water, then he's considered, or any liquid, let's say honey or sap or whatever it is, when they made a dough, that's the prohibition. Tolada of Lash, an offshoot of this melacha, is when you take dry non-edible items and you mix it with water or liquid to make a dough. For example, mixing water and dirt to create mud or cement, that's also considered asur because of kneading. Number one, in order for one to accomplish the melacha of kneading, the item that is being mixed with the liquid must be a bar gibul and become a thick substance. Bar gibul means it's able to be mixed. Some things, even if you mix them forever together, they don't combine, they don't become a mass. So in order to be transgressing the oraita melacha, you have to be able to mix it into a thick substance. Number two, the biblical melacha of Lash is accomplished only upon mixing the item. Simply pouring water into a powdery substance is only a sumir derabanan, even if it turns into a dough without mixing it. But to be the oraita, it has to be mixed, and then it becomes a dough. But if it becomes a dough without mixing, then it's only a sumir derabanan. An item that is susceptible to dash is known as a bar gibul, since the powder fuses together and is indiscernible. So there's some things that combine and some things that don't combine automatically. So therefore, if you mix it, it'll be doraita. If you don't mix it and it combines, it'll be derabanan. 3. Mixing two powdery substances such as instant coffee or sugar and spice without any liquid is not considered lash. So if I mix dry ingredients together, it's not considered kneading. Number 4, items that then do not fuse into a mixture, as flour does due to their size or due to their non-degradable texture, but can be combined to one mass of discernible pieces, only asur midarabanan. This type of thing is called the non-bar gibul, something that it does not mix well. Merely adding water to this item, right, known as the non-bar gibul, is permitted in such a case, and mixing with a shinui will also be permitted. But mixing a non-bar gibul is still asur midarabanan. So if I want to mix something that doesn't clump together with liquid, something that doesn't become clumpy, I'm allowed to mix it and stir it with a shinui. What's a shinui? What's a weird way of mixing it? He says, number 5, there's different ways to make shinui. For example, A, making less than you would normally make on a weekday. B, mixing in a crisscross manner, right, going like this instead of going like this, right? Or C, stirring an item that is usually only stirred in a vigorous way, slowly. You do it slowly instead of fast. D, mixing with your finger or your hand. E, pouring from one cup to the other to mix it, or shaking the container if that's not the normal way to mix it, or using the handle of a fork or a spoon in order to mix or mash. All these situations is considered a shinui. And there's also a difference between thick and thin mixtures. In a thick mixture, you need to do at least one shinui in order to mix it, and it's permitted to mix something that doesn't clump. And then for a thin mixture, you don't even need a shinui. It's enough that you put them in out of order. Right? Usually, let's say you put the dry and then you put the liquid. So for this, it's enough that you put the liquid, then you put the dry. That would be enough of a shinui, because it's a thin mixture. What's a thin mixture? Something blilaraka. Blilaraka is something that can be poured from one cup to the other. Usually thick things cannot be poured. It just like droops. It slowly like falls out. It doesn't go like a liquid. Okay, number 8, one may add liquid to a mixture in order to make the mixture runny, but not in order to thicken the mixture. Number 9, one may add sauce in order to enhance the taste of a cooked food, even though it might cause the food to stick together. For example, you may add sauce to rice, even though it'll cause the rice to stick together. Okay, let's do some examples of mixing stuff on Shabbat. Number 10, let's say you want to make matzah meal. Okay, so matzah meal is flour basically made from matzah. And what do you want to do? You want to add water to it. You're allowed to add water in the following conditions. Allowed to add liquid in the following conditions. If it's a thick mixture and you're only going to make a small amount needed for your meal, for immediate use, right? Then it's permitted. But if the mixture is watery, so you can make a lot, but you also have to make to change the order in which you put mix the mixture. You put the dry and then add the wet, and that'll be a shinui. 11. Let's say you make egg salad. Egg salad, you have to mix a bunch of ingredients together to make egg salad, right? So therefore, he says you're allowed to make egg salad on Shabbat by mashing onions, oil, and eggs together. Similarly, one may make mashed liver with onions, right? The people serve sautéed liver, even though they chop liver, even though both of these mixtures will become one mass. However, you should prepare it immediately before the meal, and you should not prepare a lot. You should only prepare exactly what you need. 12. Let's say you want to add mayonnaise to the potato salad, and you're going to mix it, right? Mayonnaise is thick. It is permitted to place mayonnaise or salad dressing on a salad, even though the salad consists of finely chopped vegetables or potato chunks. 13. One may mash fruits together, even though they'll be mashed with the juice that comes out of them. 14. You're allowed to urinate on the ground on Shabbat, even though it'll turn the dirt into mud. It's also permitted to spit on the ground. Let's say if some people like to add granola or cookies to their yogurt. When adding pieces of cookie to a yogurt, the pieces are very small, one should use a shinui when you're mixing them, but if the pieces are large, no shinui is needed. You're allowed to put, 16, you're allowed to put cereal like cornflakes with milk or soup nuts in soup, even though they will soften. Let's say I want to make mayonnaise, right? I want to make my own mayonnaise on Shabbat. 17, it is permitted to make mayonnaise on Shabbat by mixing together eggs, oil, and spices until they become thickened, on condition that one does not mix the ingredients vigorously, and you make it immediately prior to the meal you want to eat. Let's say somebody takes their coffee, grinds, and stirs it until it becomes like frothy. It becomes creamy. One may stir instant coffee granules with some water until it becomes creamy. However, it may only be done with a spoon or a utensil that you normally do not use for mixing. Like you cannot use or they have these whisks that you use. You cannot use those. Number 19, one may mix two thin substances on Shabbat, such as yogurt and honey. A lot of times people make tahina or hummus on Shabbat. 20, one may add oil to hummus or lemon juice to mayonnaise, since by doing so you make the mixture thinner. We said you're allowed to make things thinner as opposed to thicker. Similarly, it's permitted to mix mayonnaise and ketchup. Some people like to have some sort of dressing made out of mayonnaise and ketchup. It's allowed to mix them together. So listen to this. 21. When making tahina with a tahina paste, right? The paste generally thickens as one is adding liquids to it, and that can pose a problem on Shabbat. So how are you supposed to make tahina? If you're thinning, it's always allowed. If you're making it thicker, so that's where we run into problems. So what do you do? Number 1, you can pour a lot of water at once and make the tahina very runny. This is permitted without any shinui, because since it's being made thinner, it's not getting a chance to thicken. Or B, one should first put in the water, then add the tahina paste, and mix it by shaking it or mixing it by some other shinui. This is a thin mixture, and therefore we said that shinui is enough. C, some poskim permit mixing the tahina slowly with water until it thickens, and then adding as much as you need to thin it out. However, you shouldn't rely on this unless you do shinui, and you should always do it right before the meal. D, if one wants to thicken the tahina by adding more raw paste, one should do so only if you use a shinui. So again, comes out all these situations that it has to be b'shinui, otherwise it won't be permitted because of the asur d'Rabbanan of kneading. Okay, 23. You're allowed to make milk or baby formula from dehydrated milk on Shabbat without a shinui. Let's say you make farina. Remember farina? Porridge, right? 24. Kasha. When making a porridge for a baby, you're allowed to make it normally if it's runny, but if it's thick, one should use a shinui when making it. You're allowed to make jello on Shabbat, mixing the powder with the liquid and then putting it in the fridge. 26, you're allowed to make mashed potatoes, instant mashed potatoes, by adding water to potato powder, right? Sorry, it's not allowed. I'm sorry, it's prohibited. Mechila. It's prohibited to make instant mashed potatoes because it becomes thick like a substance, like a dough. 27 is permitted to add glue to your dentures. Some people put these special dental glue to stick their teeth in, right? Even though the powder turns into a sticky substance when you put a little bit of powder on the dentures, when it touches the saliva, it becomes a thick substance. That's allowed on Shabbat. 28. One may add sugar to yogurt or sour cream on Shabbat because it melts, it doesn't become thick. You're allowed to add spices like cinnamon to a porridge as long as there's no bishul problems, because it's a small amount and does not thicken the mixture. Baruch Amen.